Welcome to the Breakthrough Moments podcast, a podcast where challenges meet opportunities. I'm Harold, and together with my co-host Lasse, we explore stories of innovators, leaders, professionals, and entrepreneurs, and how they turn obstacles into game-changing breakthroughs. Get ready for insights that inspire and lessons that last. Subscribe now, and let's dive into the moments that define success.
Welcome to this episode of the Breakthrough Moments podcast. Today I have with me Lukas. Lukas started his career being a graphic designer in Scotland and then went on to build a larger development house in Poland, his home country. Right now he's going further into AI and looking at different products and other sorts of ventures as well, and I'm very happy to have him with me here. Lukas, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I hope we get an interesting talk today.
Let's aim at that at least. But cool. So Lukasz, to give the audience some context, like you run a basically like a software house right now, and you were a graphic designer before. Like, how does that all tie up? What led you into the domain of business that you're in right now?
Okay, it's everything developed. When I were finishing my studies in Poland in 2004, Poland joined the European Union, and some of my friends just moved out to UK, Scotland, just to see how it's living in other countries, and I really like that. So when I finished my studies, I was already working on graphic designer at last year of my studies. So to continue that, I said to myself, I will just go to Scotland. If I find a job as a designer, I will stay there for some time. So it was quite funny because I found my first job there in 3 or 4 days. It was really good place to starting cooperation. And my future boss, but I don't like to call it boss, it's like my coworker more. Hello, Rob. Just told me I will be self-employed and I will have to open my company in Scotland. So it was quite easy there, of course, because already in 2005 you can open it online. So it was easy enough to do it even for me as a young guy. But it's opened different doors to me, because I remember one of first days in my in office there, when first client come up to the office. Rob don't told he's my employee. He said it's Lukasz. He's working with me. So it's really changed how I want to cooperate with people and how I want to build companies today and cooperate with my employees or coworkers.
Yeah, fascinating, because in your software house, then you've talked about that separately with me a couple of times as well, that you've had people come on and you've seen basically that you've had these periods where you hire a lot of people and then you've had periods where you need to downscale lots of them. Are your workers primarily contractors as well, like with the same type of work relationship as you described there from your early days?
Not really. Polish IT market is a little bit different because it's something like 50-50. 50% of people are standard contracts employees, but when you hire in seniority, it's optional, as you can go for a B2B contract, because it's better from how much you can earn on these contracts. And sometimes specialists work not only for one company, but for a few companies. So it's the self-employed contracts is quite standard on our market. So you ask about downscaling as well. In IT, it wasn't a usual case, because when you get developers on your company, you never let them go. But it changed something somewhere in 2025, I think. So we have to change and adapt and start thinking differently about that. But it wasn't so easy, because nobody from my network, from IT or downscale people before that. Even I started my company in 2008. It was the crisis then. But since 2008 till 2023, we didn't have to cut any positions, really. What I learned from that, and you can call it the breakthrough moment for sure, it's that if you calculate what you have to cut, you should cut 20% more, because you always you get your gut feelings. You are as employee or entrepreneur, you're always too optimistic looking at your sales pipeline, for example. So don't be afraid. You have to do it because if you don't do it, market will verify it anyway.
Interesting. So the 20% basically then ad hoc like rate that you would add to how much you need to cut it is interesting. Like where have you gathered like most of your talent from? Like how does your team look like when it comes to freelancers? Because I guess you're remote, right?
Yeah, we are remote, but I don't think in software. Let's talk about software house because I got different companies as well.
Yeah, I'm referring to the software house.
In software house, we mostly target our talents on LinkedIn, for example, or we search through our network because we get employees who like work with us, and sometimes they bring their own friends from other companies they already work with. So this is the main source of talents for us. Sometimes we work with few freelancers, but it's more like we don't search for new freelancers. We got some freelancers work with us for 10 years, for example. And we get when we have more work we can handle, we use the resources, but it's small percentage. Most of people are full-time employees with us.
Have you used any, like, because I remember I worked a little bit within that niche a couple of years ago. Have you used any recruitment firms to hire there? Or do you only go through networks?
No, why? At first stage, when we was around, I don't know, 10 or 12 people, we decided to go for internal HR because this was the part I'm more fascinated to work with clients and on the projects than working about processes and people. So I said to myself, this is good thing I can give to somebody else, and it was easiest for us to find somebody for this to take this role from me as an owner, and it was really great decision. Right now we're working with Kasia from HR, and she's really great on her position, and she's finding people who fits our culture inside.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you basically hire that in-house, the whole process. Okay, I see. And how does the structure look like if we start with the software houses, of how you've because you have this we talked about, like, you've upscaled it, you've downscaled it. It's been like a period of different economical just turns throughout the decades which you've run it. Like how many are you today, and what types of projects is the team working on?
Right now we are 30 plus. In the top last year, top size last year we was 45 plus. I think 47. So what type of products? We were mostly working with e-commerce development. So this is the main projects, but we are as well doing website development, which is just easier e-commerce.
Okay, I see. And you do some e-commerce on the side as well with a different venture. Like when did you get into that, and what was like the thesis for you at that point, Lukas? Because you built this software house over time, and then you started experimenting with other things. Like, what made you want to pivot and spread your seed into different directions?
Maybe start experimenting after software house is not 100% right, because I opened my first company in Scotland, but I opened second company in Scotland with the cleaning company, because we can't find anybody to clean our houses with my friend. So we decide we will go for a company. Yeah, but I decided to come back to Poland, so we have had to close it. But it's I've been doing a lot of different things next to software house as well. It was never enough. And I think it's good when you're entrepreneur, it's really good that you are curious and you are not afraid to start new things and just to experiment, to understand how the business works in different types of business. You can, of course, get it from network as well and learn from different business owners, but you can as well learn by opening your own companies. And it's still
I feel like it's a common thing which I keep hearing from people that I speak to who run larger like software houses or like development firms or whatever it might be, that they have spent years and years and years on basically other people's projects, and it kind of just like tingles that curiosity of like building something of your own as well, which is a product. So I guess that's what, from when we talked earlier, that you looked more into as well. So what do you think like is the Like you have the e-commerce venture, I think it was that you mentioned that you were working on as well right now. Like what types of things do you want, like what types of things fills your day to be the most enjoyable when it comes to like business endeavors that you can do, Lukas?
What I mostly enjoy when I finish my standard day of work, I come
Yeah.
back home and do some family stuff. And after that, when I sit down with computer and start doing new things. This is what I
Mm.
mostly enjoy, creating new things. I think in future I will, of course, do some more, let's call it startups, because it's hard to define what's startup, what's just idea to develop. So this is what I really enjoy, and this is what make me more happy from my work. But on daily basis, I will get back to e-commerce. Why I started because I had so many good ideas. I thought it was good ideas, of course, which I can experiment with on my clients' e-commerce shops. So right now it's evolved because I think this CRO, for example, part of our business is evolving because clients are there when the market is down, everybody want to optimize. And when 2 or 3 years ago, nobody want to optimize so much because they got good margins anyway. So you have to get market fit as well. You have to change your how you're looking at business and at e-commerce. And e-commerce is this really nice part of business when everything is really quickly evolving. So what we think right now about this part, it will change in months or next years.
Yeah, I see. And how does that turn out for the company? Because as you say, if the market is going down, they're more obsessed with the actual CRO of their stores. But wouldn't the, again, like I'm not that familiar within e-commerce and software development. Like when the market is then going down, people are interested in CRO. Isn't the market also going down from your end then in terms of like having to downscale like the team of projects that you're
Yeah, of course.
working on? Yeah, because isn't that quite like a paradigm for like what you would hope for? Because if there's more client cases coming in, it also means the market is going down, which makes it harder to keep people employed. Or
Yeah.
how have you seen that turn out?
Remember that the biggest part in software house of business is development.
Mm.
No UX, not CRO, it's just development of e-commerce solution. When we get more, there's a lower market, then what you cut in company, investment. And development of new features is always investment. This is where the business for most of companies, because we are on the IT network in local in Wrocław here, and everybody say e-commerce is scaling down right now the investments.
Mm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see. Well, to another thing, Lukasz, you mentioned for me that you sold a part of your company some years ago. Like, what was the biggest lesson that you learned from that process? I keep hearing like different things which people take from that whole experience. Like, what are the key things which you feel that you sit with of learnings after that?
I think most important, if you search for investor or you want to sell, you have to decide if you want to sell it, then negotiate how fast you can go out from the business. Yes, this will be the most important for you. If you want to get investor, how to guarantee the input you need. For example, sometimes you will need, I don't know, extra sales resources, clients. You can need, I don't know, some expertise or some doors open. So this is really important to define, and I think put it in agreement. So you know how to do KPIs from it. So both sides know what they should add to the business. Yeah. So I think this is the most important things which I will think telling next business.
Yeah, and with the next business, then I'm guessing that's for like the products that you want to take out. Like, what is your, if you look into like your 5-year plan there, Lukasz, from this point on, with the things which you sit and like, I resonate with it because I do it myself as well. Like after dinner, when you go back to the laptop and start playing around with your ideas, like what are your like goals for the next 5 years with materializing such ideas? Is it to like take out several startups? You want to build one larger one? What do you think the future has in store for you?
Of course, after last poor year, we want to rebuild software house. We want to start growing again. So this is main focus. Of course, growing e-commerce, which is not taking me so much time from my time, because it's like something like really connected to the projects of my clients. So it's really easy to handle that, because sometimes I do something at afternoon, so it's quite easy. But second goal, it's more sometimes I will call it like a hobby, is doing quick MVPs, verifying the startup idea. I want to pull it with my friend. I want to polish that how to find the pain in clients, which clients have, how to verify quickly MVP without big costs. Try to scale it. So I want to learn this in the upcoming years, and after that, hopefully one of 10, 50 or 100 ideas will be good, and we can scale it.
Cool. Have you, like, this is more so my domain, because I'm looking at it like every day, every week, and like I always find it interesting to talk about these validation strategies per se, where like people like us, I guess, would have like I don't know, at least a like dozen ideas every week which comes up, and we have like a harder time actually getting things validated. One thing which we have a client right now that we're consulting, they do something really interesting to basically not really validate ideas, but we've seen how we can validate ideas with the strategy or the tactic, and that is through using LinkedIn, in a sense where like people are used to using LinkedIn to reach out to people for new sales opportunities, etc., and putting things out there. But say that you have an idea which you've crafted, like I can give you an example of mine, which we've had over the past weeks, and that is to make a tool which can automate all sorts of inbox management on LinkedIn, so that all of your networks, you can imagine like a tool which is an AI agent in practicality to make it easy and understandable, who then has access to the profile that they're speaking with. So say that on my profile that you send me a message like, hi Lasse, I saw you were doing this and this and this, interesting, want to get to know you, etc. Then I have an agent that reads off your profile, and with that context is able to answer on my behalf. Like that's a product which we've been looking at. And one way which we tested over this week as we're recording is putting out posts on LinkedIn where we're just sharing the development process and then just asking people, are you interested in testing a beta version? Like just comment beta on the post. And the first thing we did this week, like 40 leads immediately from like relevant B2B businesses. Like I love these kind of like small like growth strategies. Like, do you have any that you've tested to like gain just basically this customer feedback in the MVP process?
I think first will be if you can get first client for this. You need small MVP to get first client who can test it. And if you solve his problem and he can pay for that, yes, it can be first step of validation for sure. I really like what you just mentioned, because second part will be if you can sell it. Because sometimes I'm speaking with people who got really nice idea, but cost of idea is huge, and somebody can pay for it, I don't know, $5 monthly, so it's worthless. Yeah, so for example, you have to calculate costs as well. I'm quite good with measurement, because in a software house you have to measure everything. You have to measure hours, you have to measure cost per client, and the statistics are really important to managing the business. So I know how to do business plan, calculate the cost, and if it's even possible to do it. So second one, calculate the cost per client. So because, for example, hosting the huge project, will give you a different example. For example, for building app for Shopify, if competition, you have, I don't know, $5 application, you have to build a quite big one, and people will pay you only $5 per usage, and the hosting of this application will be few times more. It's worthless to build it, yeah, and you should cut it at this stage. So it's if you got this few points of view first, if it's doing if it's giving value to your clients, if you can sell it, and how's the cost versus the price, it's the most important things probably. But you can easily learn it on YouTube. You get a lot of videos telling how to build a software house, how to validate ideas. So for everyone, it's quite easy today to learn.
Yeah, but again, I guess it's a market dynamic that you need to, with software houses, for example, to get into that business. You can learn it, but if it's just decentralized learning, which you're finding a little bit here and there, then it's always going to be hard to compete with the guys who've been doing it for decades, like yourself.
This is another, I think, breakthrough moments that if you want to be entrepreneur, you have to know that you will never stop learning. You have to learn on a daily basis, I think, because if not, somebody will do more work than you, and you will not win.
Lukasz, you talked about CRO a lot, and you obviously work with that in many different settings. What has made you so not necessarily invested, but interested in CRO specifically, given that you come from a designer and a software background?
First of all, I was amazed how little change can give you bigger sales on my own e-commerce. So for example, changing of one small text give us 3 times more sales than we had before. So I was quite amazed and started learning that with our UX designers. So I really like small changes giving big impact. This is why I'm invested a lot of my time on this CRO because I'm really enjoying results. I don't like to do a lot of hard work and don't see result. Of course, when I can come back in my head to, I don't know, 2008, 2010, when I was working as a developer and designer from home and doing sometimes 12 hours work and working every weekend. If I don't do this then, I don't have this in my head what I can show today. For example, if working with some developers, they looking at the code for a whole day, and I can spot one small thing there to change and to give a result. But if I don't spend so much time working when I was younger, I don't have this knowledge today.
What are you learning today, Lukasz? Since you're mentioning that this is what has led you here, but what are the things which you sit down and actively learn today?
2 aspects. First, all the time learning how to sell, how to get leads and clients. So of course, what you told with your LinkedIn idea with cold reach is great. We are doing this all the time. So cold reach is important, but different thing, how to use social media, for example, to get clients and experimenting with this. So sales is, for every entrepreneur, sales should be one of the most important things. And second one is validation strategies for software for startups, because this is what I want to do in the future, and I want to develop the skills as well.
Are you doing any of that right now? Any type of advisory things for startups?
For startups, no. My advisory is mostly for e-commerce and for web development part. I'm doing this as a, let's call it for now, hobby. We'll see how my skills will develop in future. But this is a part which I'm interested in, and this is again the curiosity, because when I'm finding new thing I want to learn and I see it will be difficult, I want it more.
Yeah.
You have this as well?
Yeah, for sure. I've done it in a little bit of a different order of things, where me and my business partner, he's always been the technical guy out of us, and I've come in some years ago with more of the sales side from the start of. And over time, earlier this year, I figured out that okay, because I'm talking on all of these episodes as well, I always bring up the topic of AI and technology, because I'm there is no way we'll get around it within the next years. And then I was sitting there some months ago without clue of understanding of the different tech that we were building in the company. I was okay, I can't do this anymore. I have to try to learn this and get into it. So the past past 6 months for me or so, 6-7 months have just been learning. Like I haven't been learning code, but more so no code and how to connect just the different software that we use to be able to build basic applications that we've been using in-house and some that we can sell externally. But like that curiosity for just the next big thing, I don't think there's anything which could really like stop it. And I don't really get that when I look at so many people, like typically not entrepreneurs, because you will always see the same thing in entrepreneurs, that there's like something that they're excited about, like a kid around like learning, as you say here, with like the skills of being able to just advise startups is interesting. But on that topic, Lukasz, like towards the end here, like one question that we like to bring up with people are, if there was one thing for your next breakthrough, because we talked about like some of the previous breakthroughs here being for example, the upscaling and downscaling and the basically metrics you made for evaluating the downscaling. But if you look ahead of time, what is one thing which you think will be just pivotal for your next breakthrough moment that you want to know?
I'm sure learning about AI, how to use it. I think you can do today as an entrepreneur 10 times more than a few years ago using AI. Even simple ChatGPT can do it, but you have to switch way how you think. So this is the most important. You know, I'm generalist, so I'm taking ideas from a lot of different places. You know, as hobby, I'm doing street art. So this is the other part. I'm meeting different people. I don't know. Probably one day I wake up and meet somebody somewhere on network, and I will say, okay, I want to try it. I want to go for it. And so I can't answer this question.
It's hard, it could always change. But speaking of AI, as you mentioned that you would go a bit into, like what type of AI do you use in the company right now? Like what types of tools?
For development, we get few tools delivered by the Jira connections or in the programs when developers work. So we get connected some tools, of course, and I'm using mostly ChatGPT, but with my own models. I'm learning, I'm structuring data. I'm, gathering all information. After every day, I get documents with my knowledge about e-commerce, about business, about management, and this is my own models, and I'm putting my own data. I'm learning how to get how to catch the right answer, because you're getting so many information today, you can't remember everything. And AI, the simple AI like ChatGPT is helping you to get your own consultant to not forget the important things on the daily basis. So I think this is the quite good and easy hack for you to just gather all data, put it in one place, and just ask questions and get the answers.
Yeah, it's a huge shift when I've seen a lot of business owners that I speak with who still have trouble implementing ChatGPT or basically language models because they feel like it doesn't have the context they need. But you just got to build that context, like build some sort of like internal model, as you mentioned, where you have that context available. One of the things which I started doing a couple of months ago, which has been a game changer, is just bringing a transcriber to every meeting I do and to just feed that transcription into a database, which I can then just ask, or where a language model always has access to the database, so has access to all questions which I might have, like, oh, what was like Lukasz's daughter's name, because we talked about it like on the last time we talked or whatever, so that it doesn't just slip up in between like any random interaction. And that's just been like insanely valuable from our end, at least.
Her name is Blanca. You don't need ChatGPT for that, but yeah, it's really smart how you do it. Everybody should remember, a lot of people who know a lot about AI more than we do, saying that shit in, shit out. So what you have to do, you have to learn what kind of answers you can get. But if you put your most important books which you believe in and learn him, okay, search only in my books, give me the examples for it, it will do it. It will be easier than getting back to the book again. For me, it's really easy because I like new things, so it's easier than for most of company owners to learn that. Of course, I'm working as well on daily basis with software, so it's easier and faster. But for other entrepreneurs, if you don't do it right now, you will be left behind. Yeah, so it's not a choice. You have to do it.
For sure. Lukasz, thanks a lot for coming on. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
You too. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too.